Welcome to 52 Authors, 52 Weeks, Season 3. I'm Dr. Lisa L. Campbell, the Growth Motivator. Each week, I sit down with a different author to explore what lies behind the pages. Growth, purpose, finding your voice. Enjoy today's episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another amazing episode of 52 Authors, 52 Weeks with me, your host, Dr. Lisa L. Campbell. Today, I am joined by the best-selling author, Megan Mary. And today we're going to talk about the Witches of Maple Hollow, the Dream Hunters. And I have the book on my Kindle, but this is a Metaphysical Mystery of Magick. Welcome to the show, Megan.
Thank you, Lisa. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, before we get into the book, why don't you tell our listening, viewing audience just all things Megan first?
Okay. Yes. So, I am an international award-winning best-selling metaphysical author. I'm also a dream worker, host of Women's Dream Enlightenment podcast, and founder of Inner Realms Publishing.
I love it. And where are you located?
I'm in Idaho.
You're in Idaho. Is it? So we're recording this episode in December. So do you have snow right now?
Not yet, which is fabulous.
Well, I'm in Chicago, so we have had snow. We don't want it. We would like for it to go somewhere else. But when you've been somewhere for over 50 years, people think you get used to it. And it's like, no, you don't get used to snow, shoveling snow. Everybody's acting like they don't know how to drive in snow the first time it snows for the season. So it's a little vibe that we have to deal with every year. But we've been blessed, I would say, the last 5 years because we have not had bad winters. So fingers crossed that
Yes.
we can make it through without it being too bad.
Yes.
So I want to ask, I'm going to make a statement, more of a question, because I've been thinking about this. Dreams are the gateway to our awakening, right?
Yes.
So was it actually a dream? Was it an inner nudge? And I will be the first to admit I have a lot of dreams. Sometimes they're scary because something will happen and then I'll pause for a minute and be like, wait a minute. I dreamed about this exact moment. And you can't have that conversation with everybody, right? Because they just don't get it. So tell us more about this dream being our gateway to awakening or that inner nudge.
Yes. So I thought your question was going to be, did this book come to me in a dream? And the answer would be yes. So we can clear that up. So a little over 10 years ago, I had a dream about a talking cat with a lisp. And he told me his name was Wixby. And I was like, okay, I think I need to do something important with you, but I don't know what. And I have always been fascinated by dreams ever since I was a child. I used to have recurring nightmares and situations where I was like, I don't understand why nobody's talking about this, but we're spending a third of our lives doing this. And why are we hiding it and also not acknowledging its importance? And a few years ago, I had a situation where I got really sick and I had to do a lot of inner work and I had to heal myself from the inside out, not just the body part. I knew it involved the mind and the spirit. And that's where the dream work came in. And I started paying attention to my dreams again, which I hadn't in many years. And I started to receive a lot of guidance and a lot of information. And it was very straightforward that I needed to go out and do this in the world and spread the word about how important dreams were. So to me, they are more than just the regurgitations of our day. They are an access point for our eternal self, and where we can gain wisdom from the universe, the unified field, whatever you want to call it. And that it's a way to access our own self that we are not fully living in our true full self. And so I created these books as a way to spread that word, but also to entertain and to inspire. And it followed me as I was discovering all of this.
Wow. So you describe this book as a fictional self-help book.
Yes.
And you just spoke about how it was kind of it's following your journey, your dreams. Um, you mentioned this word, and before we get too far into the show, I have to make sure you define this word because you use this word, a metaphysical mystery. Some people are like, "What is metaphysical? What is that all about?"
Yes. So metaphysical really means beyond the physical, right? So we have our five senses that we use every day. And then we have these other senses, clair senses, they call them, where we know something, but we don't know why, where we are hearing a song in our head and we don't know why, where we think we see something out of the corner of our eye, where we visit with people in our dreams, where we have that inner voice that says, turn left, don't go there now, all these things. That's our inner knowing, but we're not taught to acknowledge that. And so once we start to recognize that we are spirits having a human experience and not the other way around, then we start to realize that the nature of reality might not be what we grew up thinking it was. And so metaphysics is the study of the nature of reality, essentially.
Mm. And it's funny you mentioned the nature of reality because we live in this social media driven world where everything is about this highlight reel or this reality show that's not reality. And my husband and I were having a conversation about this show that I probably have been watching for about 10 years. It's called Married to Medicine. And because I've been in healthcare for 33 years. Anything that's healthcare related, I like to watch, right? Even though this is a reality show. So it's been on about 10 years, and my husband and I both were commenting on how no matter what season they're in, as they continue to progress, they add more drama into the series. And for me, I'm like, you have these women and men who are um, OBGYN, psychiatrists. I want to see a show where they're helping people and that is not so reality driven. And my husband was like, well, you're in the minority with that request. People want to see drama play out on screen. And so I really been thinking about if I'm going to continue to watch it. I don't generally watch it live. I watch the recorded version of it. But I'm really tired of the masks that people wear, the stories that we tell ourselves. And like you, I actually experienced a point in my life in 2024 where I had a fracture and was down for about 4 months. And during that time, I experienced some things because I was forced to be still. I was forced to be in a non weight bearing status. I was forced to have to learn how to walk again after not being able to walk. And I know that that experience was something that I needed because it changed me forever.
Yes. Yes. So I was just reading last night about how trauma, whether it's physical, emotional, spiritual, or mental, is initiations in our spiritual progression. And I went through a similar thing at the beginning of my dark night of the soul where my eyesight began to fail me so bad that I ended up having to have cataract surgery, which for me was very early, way too early in my life. And I had a period where I could not see well at all. And they were trying to give me different lenses and I couldn't see. And I ended up discovering audiobooks. And I would sit for hours in darkness listening to audiobooks. And that really started my love of the audiobook because it was so immersive. And so, of course, I had to make mine into audiobooks too. But when I lost that outer sight, it gifted me the inner sight.
Wow, wow. So throughout the book, you kind of it's three things that I think you weave into the book. So sound, music, vibration. And you weave them in the story as a part of the healing process. How does sound healing kind of fit into the spiritual aspect of the book?
Yes. So sound healing is one of those wonderfully accessible healing modalities because all you have to do is listen. It doesn't involve a lot of efforting. You can even be doing something else while it's on. But the beauty of it is that when we listen to certain frequencies, it makes our brain, what they call entrain, start to follow that frequency. And we start to resonate at the same level that the music is. And certain frequencies have certain beneficial effects. And some of them call them the solfeggio frequencies. And so I integrate sound healing in my dream work that I do by suggesting and curating different frequencies for people based on the dreams that they're having. If it's a scary dream, or if it's a sad dream, or whatever it might be. And so in the story, it really uses that element of sound healing. And she discovers, because she's a pianist by trade, and she had never really thought about how that might be a way to heal herself. And so it's one of the many metaphysical topics that are explored in the trilogy. There are so many different layers, but the first one does delve into the benefits of sound and vibration and resonance. All of those things are really important when we start to recognize that we have an energy field around us and that it influences our health and our well-being.
Wow. So you mentioned she in the book. So are we talking about Hannah?
Yes.
So one of the things I like about Hannah is someone who is searching, is
Yes.
trying to find her voice. I feel like as women, that's something that we struggle with a lot, whether it's you are let's say you're in a traditional relationship setting and you're doing all the cooking and the cleaning and taking care of the kids and you feel like you don't know who you are, or the woman who is the career woman who has all the things but is still struggling to find her voice because of imposter syndrome and all of that. And so I feel like Hannah's journey kind of mirrors what many of us, if we're willing to be honest, experience on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely. It's a women's journey in self-discovery, and that's why it's a combination of women's fiction mixed with mystery, mixed with fantasy, mixed with like visionary metaphysical, because as she's discovering things, you're discovering things. And as she's tracking her journals, you're starting to maybe pay attention to your dreams because you, of course, don't want the dream haunters to get you if you don't.
I love that because I think because when we talked about this being partial self-help book, I think many women need help, but are reluctant to get help because of the stigma associated with getting help. So I think this kind of reels them in little by little by giving those moments to pause and think like, if I don't stop to acknowledge this, this is going to happen. And that's not going to happen on my watch. Right. So it's like
Exactly.
you're being challenged to address the things that you don't want to admit. I feel like as women, we have a lot of things that we file in the do not recall folder of life.
Yes.
Um, and as I get older, there are some conversations. I just lost my last grandparent, October 2025. My grandfather was 104. So that's like
Mm.
the four of my grandparents, on both sides. No longer here. But I said, I wish I would have had some more in-depth conversations with them because I believe there's a lot of things that they didn't talk about. And the problem with that to me is that there could be things that I've experienced or that I'm thinking about that I don't understand. And it's kind of embedded in my DNA. And because they didn't talk about it, I'm struggling to talk about it, but luckily, I have the tools and the willingness to work things out because I literally want to walk around at peace. I don't want to walk around with a mask on and just feeling like I don't deserve to be here because I know what it's like to be in a mental state where you feel like you don't need to be here anymore. And I never want to feel that ever again, nor do I want other people, especially women, to feel that way because the mind is very tricky. It will have you thinking some things that you're like, whoa, but you got to have the tools to work through them.
Absolutely. And Hannah is very transparent in her suffering. is the to say it lightly. And also, as we go through the trilogy, book 3, the finale that just came out in October, the Dream Dimensions, which is this guy here, actually deals with ancestral healing. And so we really get into that. What is it that I'm carrying with me, that may have been from my whole ancestral line, all the people that struggled and strived for me to be standing here today, and everything that I'm carrying in my DNA from them, and that I'm here to maybe be the change breaker, to be the healer, to be the one who is gonna recognize that and transmute it and do something powerful with it. So yeah, and not to skip over book 2, because in book 2 we're really talking about identity. And so we're really talking about the ego and like you said, the masks we wear, our vanities and our insecurities, and how we overcome those, because you have to have that ego death when you go through the spiritual awakening to come out on the other side in service, but you also have to heal yourself to stay here.
Mm. And I like the fact that you're mentioning the other books. So, do they need to be read in a certain order? Can somebody skip around?
I mean, ideally you read them in order, but I because book 3 just came out, I had some reviews where people were like, "This is so great. I hope there's more after this," not realizing it was the last in the trilogy. And then they said, "Oh, I went back. I thought it was going to be lost, but I wasn't." And so it's like you can, but ideally it's in a row, because there's some of them are, a year, 3 years apart. So you start to see her progression as she's coming into her power, because it really is a story of that. It's spiritual inheritance where you're recognizing all of the powers and the abilities that you have within you that you hadn't activated. And so it's empowering, but the story is about how time is an illusion also. So I don't want to be too linear about it and say that you have to do that. You can time travel around.
Well, for me, I'm thinking so obviously I don't have all 3 books, but the way you're describing it, it's like for maximal transformation, start from
Yes.
the beginning, right?
Yes,
And for
good.
me, I don't want just a little transformation. I when people hear me say this, they're like, "Whoa." I am glad that I was in a house with, family at the time that I fell, and I am so grateful that I was the one that fell. My grandfather at the time was 103. My father was in the house, my aunts, my uncles, who are all in their 70s and 80s. And I thought, oh, you're 52. You'll bounce back quick. Not. But I say that I'm grateful that I fell because I needed it so that I can be a part of the charge to help transform lives. But before I can help others, I had to go through the transformation myself.
Yeah.
And when I speak to women, I don't wanna talk about what I read about. Yeah, I can infuse some of the literature in there, right? But telling them what I felt in those moments and what I did, to me, that's more impactful than seeing somebody else fall and watch them go through the journey. I went through it, and I realized that while I had slowed my life down, I thought the year before I had slowed my life down, it wasn't down enough. I wasn't getting the type of rest that I should have been getting, right? The kind where, as a menopausal woman, you have those sleeping problems. But through that process, I got the best sleep. And for those of you who are like, you probably were on medication, those drugs weren't really working the way that, you think they would work. So no, it wasn't on any medication. I literally was just able to lay down and go to sleep and wake up in such a great headspace that I was literally not locked in my room, but stuck in my room, writing, reading, praying, crying, just literally all of these things I was experiencing. I would not have it any other way.
Sounds like a spiritual retreat.
Yes, for one.
Yep.
So we have about 8 minutes left, but I have to ask you this question. So um I was going to say something about something in the book, but I'm going to come back to that in a second. For readers who or potential readers, 'cause that's what we want. We want more readers to read your
Yes.
book. Um, if they're drawn to this because they realize there's something inside of them that needs to be awakened, is awakening, how can your discussion in the book help them, help guide them through their own journey?
Yes. There's so many ways that the story can lead you through, because there's the wise villagers and the sage friends and and she's asking all the questions and discovering all of the information and experiencing these amazing things herself and overcoming her grief because she lost her parents when she was little. um, they are all metaphysical teaching tools. I call them quantum encoded, stories for the spiritual seeker. They're like adult fairy tales, but they're fictional self-help. And so I would say, if you are feeling called, because the books have their own energy and they will find you if you are meant to read them, that dive in and start reading and start traveling to this wonderful place that I've created, and open yourself to that experience that it's going to lead you on while you're being entertained. And it's, because they're not violent, there's no swearing, there's no romance. These are very accessible, almost cozy, but spooky books. And so it's my hope that these books really spark a almost a movement in women, that they become empowering to them and let them feel comfortable and safe in accessing their own abilities and power that they have and healing themselves.
I love that. And I want to say thank you for being vulnerable enough to write these books, because in the book you talk about how you weren't sure if anybody was going to read the book, and clearly people are reading the book. And I always say, as authors, we're not writing for us. Yes, when we write, we go through our own healing process as a part of writing. But at the end of the day, you want the reader to go through those emotions and evolve as a person as a result of you laying it all out there. So after you got to those 10,000 words and you were like, I'm done with this, I'm glad you picked it back up and kept it going, because really it would be selfish not to do it. And because of what you experienced, you have a responsibility to help others because you're on the other side of it.
Thank you so much. And yes, that is exactly how I feel. It was very difficult to put myself out there, overcome my insecurities as an introverted person and a private person, put it all on the page. But I knew that that was part of my journey and that I had to step aside in order for it to reach the people that needed to read it, and that it would go on to inspire people in ways that I probably didn't even plan. So I'm happy to be part of that process and be the messenger of the message.
I love it. I love it so much. I'm in the process of writing the book that will be released in 2026 at some point. And as I think about the transformation that you wanted us to experience, my book is, and it's not, I guess mine is, first of all, let me just say, every time I think of the word fiction, nonfiction, I go down this rabbit hole. But in my first chapter, I talk about the weight that we hold, WEIGHT. And the weight I've defined as emotional and mental, and procrastination, of course, physical weight, comparative weight, right? Historical weight. And every time I reread my manuscript, I'm so emotional that it's making me kind of feel like you. Is anybody gonna read it? But also I realize I have a responsibility to release it because I know that it's going to impact thousands of lives. And so I have to do it. But I did have that moment, like, people see that word weight, they're going to think it's about physical, right? And it's definitely much more than that. And as women, I think we carry so much. And I don't know about you, but I could see me into my 90s, 100 years old, being sassy. My grandfather was 104 when he died. I was 52. He was 52 when I was born. And so for me, there's some significance. So I'm just going to be walking around doing these interviews for as long as the universe allows me to do so. But I want to be
Yes.
free doing it.
Yes, agreed. And my grandfather lived to be 102, and he was very inspirational to me. And I think if I have his good graces, I'll have just as long to go. So yes.
I love that. So, what does the future hold for you?
Well, I'm in the process of finishing my master's in metaphysics, and then I'll be getting my PhD. And as part of that thesis that I'm going to be preparing for that, it's going to be the beginnings of my nonfiction book on dreams, which has been planned for a long time, the title of which is buried somewhere in the trilogy. And so that will be next. And after that, I probably will return to fiction, but there's just a lot of other things that have to happen before I go back to the fiction world. But I definitely have a lot of plans for other things to do with Maple Hollow. I think I'm going to probably be making a series of meditations around Maple Hollow. And I currently have a lot of merchandise and journals and things that I sell on my website for Maple Hollow. So Maple Hollow is not going away. It's going to be a place that I will continue to visit and make creations on. So, yeah.
I love that. So, before we leave, two things. One, tell our listening, viewing audience where they can find you and the books.
Yes. MeganMary.com, MEGANMARY, is where you can find my podcast, my books, the merchandise. You can also book one-to-one dream sessions with me in my dream work. And I also have online courses on there. The books are also available in audiobook narrated by British narrator Pearl Hewitt, which is amazing. And you can find the books and the audiobooks wherever you get them: Audible, Amazon, Kobo, Google, Apple, all those places. You can also request them at your local library.
Nice, nice. As an avid reader, I can't remember the last time I went inside the library. It might have been to vote or something, but I said recently that I need to go and sit there and read because I feel like something is waiting on me if I go into the building. And so I had to put that on my list of things to do. It's just that I want to take my Starbucks in there with me, so I got all. So I have to plan that trip for myself because I truly believe that. And so I want to thank you so much again for being vulnerable and in writing your books and what's to come. And before we leave, do you have any final words for our listening viewing audience?
I would just say listen to your dreams, because they are your inner voice and they're always there waiting for you to start to pay attention. And they have so much that they can offer you. So why not start that practice as a nice New Year's resolution and begin down that path of just discovering yourself?
I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, listen, everyone. I just finished chatting with Megan Mary. And the page changed. Author of Witches of Maple Hollow, The Dream Hunters. Yeah, thank you for holding it up. And this is one of 3 books for those of you who joined late. And we are wanting you all to tap into your dreams because there's some transformation. Dreams are a powerful transformation tool if you are willing to go on the journey. So until next time, thank you guys so much for listening, watching 52 Authors, 52 Weeks, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye. You've just experienced another conversation from 52 Authors, 52 Weeks, Season 3. The conversation may pause here, but the growth continues. I'm Dr. Lisa L. Campbell, the Growth Motivator, and I'll see you next week.